Okay. Welcome, everyone. JT here. Welcome to the huddle. For those joining the huddle for the first time, the huddle is where I sit down with other successful people from the world of sport and coaching. And the intention is to learn more about our guest's story, to learn more about their journey to greatness. Why is it important? Because success always leaves clues. Always does. So as I was mentioning, happy Friday. If you're watching live, if you're catching this on the replay, you're catching this on our YouTube channel. Again, happy whatever day, because every day is a great day. Every day is a blessed day. I am really enthused for my guest today. My guest is a servant-based leader. Again, I know him back from his days where he was a star on the gridiron. So it's been amazing to watch his transition. And now he's really doing some great work in the financial services space. My guest in the huddle today is Dylan Shervill. How are you, Dylan?
I'm doing great. Hey, everybody. Thank you also that's tuning in on Facebook. And thank you so much, JT, for having me on the show. I'm an admirer from afar, as some people like to say. I love the content. Yeah. I think that getting positive content out onto the internet is something that needs to happen more, especially in today's day and age. And it's something that, people can always relate to and people can always chat about, right? So getting positive people and positive influences out into the internet, never a bad thing in my eyes.
Yeah, no. And you know what, Dylan, I couldn't have said any better. And that's why we're here today, right? Great minds think alike.
That's right.
So before we start, I always like to start off with something fun and just to kind of, just get the juices flowing, get you to stop and think, because that's what I like doing. I like asking questions. What is something that most people don't know about you, Dylan? I love that.
So there's a few things. Number one is that I actually went to OFSA in badminton for football in high school. So that's something that not a lot of people know about me. This big burly fella jumping around and prancing around on a badminton court was a pretty cool thing to see. Some people would think so. Another thing that people might not necessarily know about me, a great guilty pleasure of mine is barbecue. I love barbecuing when I have the opportunity to do so, or like cooking in general. I love trying to do new things and try to see what I can create in the kitchen. Sometimes my wife doesn't necessarily like the mess, but hey, as long as the food tastes good, I'm happy about it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I love those two different ones.
Yeah.
Again, one of the things, and I'll let you know, hey, one thing that always made the CCH lineman great was, some people noticed that a lot of you guys, coach had you guys play some badminton. You weren't the only one, right?
No. So what, I was very blessed and privileged to get mentored by a few different people when I was at CCH. One of them being Joe Cercelli, great badminton player, like unreal badminton player. So when he suggested I go and play badminton, same with Mike and JP, I was like, all right, I gotta at least try it. It looks fun. What's the worst thing that could happen? And worst thing that could happen turns out it was going to OFSA, which isn't too bad. Yeah. But the most of the credit does fall onto my partner. However, she played amazing. I was a mixed doubles player, wasn't a singles player. So yeah, she had to deal with me on a day-to-day basis and deal with my frustrations. So yeah, she kept me calm, cool, collected, and was awesome. So Jessica, if you're watching this, thanks for making me look good.
I love it. Again, it speaks volumes about you, right? Yeah. Always acknowledging the people that helped you out. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what I'd love to know, Dylan. Again, I remember you back in the day. Again, you were a great football player in high school, and then you played post-secondary. And again, an OFSA level badminton player.
Yeah.
I would love to know, what role has sport played in your life? What's a lesson or lessons that you've really taken from it?
So there's a lot, and I think that I can break down my sport into kind of three different stages. The first one was like pre-high school. you get into the London minor football, you get into things like that. But what my dad had always pushed to me, and even my stepdad, they both pushed to me that you got to always push to play higher level competition. So in the summers, I would play like travel football. But the difference being, I played for an organization, I'm pretty sure it still exists at the moment, is the Forest City Thunderbirds, and I was playing on their varsity team. So I was going into grade 9 as a 14-year-old kid playing against kids that were 17, 18, 19 years old. Right. And that age gap and that experience gap, was able to push me further than what I had expected. Right. And then going into CCH, getting into that program, honestly, like it very much shapes who you are as a person. I know that there are probably, I think, 2 other programs I would think that are on the same caliber or that are on the same wavelength as CCH, in terms of, not just athlete development, but personal development, right? Because obviously they want to make you a great football player, but they're more concerned about if you're a better person. And that's something where, Mike and JP, Mr. Regan, Coach Howard, Coach Irvin there, like I could go on and on for all the people that had an impact in that program. But they really focused on, like you can be a great football player, but it doesn't matter unless you're a great person, right? People want to be around you. People want to, not necessarily talk to you because, you might be busy or whatever, but make sure that you're a pleasant person to be around, right? Be a positive influence in the community. I kind of compare it to the New York Yankees, where I used to have really long hair, like down to here when I went into CCH, and I got told, hey, you either need to put that up in a ponytail or you need to cut it off. And I suggest the latter. The first words Mike Cicelli ever said to me, by the way, which I thought was pretty cool. So next day I went and got a haircut. So making sure, clean, precise, to the point, and then doing that. And then for my post-secondary career, unfortunately, my football career ended because of too many concussions, which it is what it is, right? I'm not going to say I have any regrets, because, I wouldn't be where I am without them. Right. And I wouldn't be the person I am without them. Does it suck? Yeah. But it is what it is, and you just deal with it. And one of the main factors in people who I got to be around post injury or post like playing in post secondary was John Vuvalidis, the head coach of the Central Ghosts at the time, or the Golden Ghosts. My wife always reminds me it's the Golden Ghosts. It's not just the Ghosts. So, yeah, and he was very big on being a good person and doing well in the community, doing right by others. So even at those like 3 integral stages of my sporting career, there was always someone there being a positive influence in my life, making sure that you're good in the community, making sure you're doing right by others. And there's a long list of people at Western that also do the same thing, right? The people who just come to mind for me directly were, when I was there, were Chris Marcus, Chris Bertoya, Greg Marshall, and even the training and coaching staff there. They were just amazing people, right? You play hard and you have fun after the games, after you've done your work, right? But making sure that you're a good person in the meantime is super important.
It's really great. First things first, Dylan. Mm-hmm. I really love that you took the time there just to acknowledge so many of the influential people in your life. And what I really got from it as you were talking was that, yes, you loved sports, you loved football, but you could really, or I could get a really great sense that it was the growth behind it, right? Like football was kind of the vessel in which you sort of, quote unquote, learn to become a better version of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Right? Absolutely.
Is that something that has always been like, is that something that you naturally did? Is that something you've learned over the course of your life?
So you don't notice it when it's happening, right? It's more or less when you look at it after. And just for me, my example was football, right? Other people's example might be hockey or band or choir or whatever, right? Whatever floats your boat and whatever you love to do. But for me personally, it's all about when I was looking back on it and like, hey, like I really noticed this happened, right? Or this was an important moment that changed for me, or this was a really important conversation that you don't necessarily notice at the time. Because again, teenager, young adult, whatever you call it, you're not going to look at those things the same way that you do when you're all, in your late 20s or early 30s and beyond, right? It's I personally think that I wouldn't be the person I am without those people. Especially even like I had a great home life as well. Like my parents were separated, but they were consistent in their values. They were consistent in their ability to parent. There was no like slacking off. Like there was no fun parent, right? Like they had fun, like I had fun obviously with them, but it was always about making sure that you're doing the right thing all the time, no matter what.
And what I heard from you there was just the importance of values, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I would love to know is that it sounds like coaching, mentorship has been invaluable for you. You know, what is it about coaching and mentorship that you feel is so important?
So there are like probably 2 to 3 things I'll touch on with that question. It's a great question, by the way. Like, I think that that's something that coaching and mentorship doesn't get brought up too often, even when you're looking at like careers, even, right? Like in terms of coaching and mentorship, I think that it's super integral that you find someone who either has accomplished what you want to do, or someone that you really, really respect and value their opinion, and someone who you look up to and say, hey, like, I like the way they do this, or I like the way that, I love the way that they're a husband, or I love the way that they're a parent. I love the way that they're a coach. I love the way that they're a teacher. Right. Because everybody has things like that where they people that are like, oh man, I like this guy's awesome because I know he's a great husband to his wife, right? Takes care of her, does whatever she's got to do, things like that. And I think that having those mentors or people that you can at least look up to is integral to improving as a person. And for me to just have those consistent mentors over the course of my life is pretty amazing. In terms of coaching and mentorship, it's going to be tough love, right? It's going to be something where you're not always going to like what you hear, but it's going to be what you need to hear. And it's going to be what you need to do to improve, right? It's not going to be the easy way out, because if it was easy, everyone would do it, right? But that's not necessarily how life goes, right? And you got to continue to improve, continue to move forward. And there's a saying that we had at CCH, though I believe it was the year that we won the city finals, was just be better than yesterday. Right? It doesn't matter how you were yesterday. If you improve 1%, even 1% on a daily basis, that's 365% growth over the course of a year, right? So just be better than yesterday.
As you were sharing there, I really got a sense of that athlete mindset, that ability. Hey, it is going to be tough love sometimes. And it's so great that you see that. Because I was having a conversation with one of my clients this week, and I said, kind of feels good to get your ass kicked, doesn't it? And he's like, yeah. I said, hey, listen, I have people in my life that kick my ass, and I know they're calling me on it, because we all have our blind spots. And it's just one of those ability to sort of be confident in your own skin, that they're coming from a place of love. They're doing it because they see something in you that you might not see in that moment, but they're just trying to get you to really push that next level of greatness.
Absolutely. And I think that one person that really reminds me of is Mark Regan. He was at CCH. Yeah. He was probably the one that gave me the toughest love. He expected a lot from me. And it's something where you look back on it and you're like, man, like he did a lot, where you're looking at it even in the moment and you're like, man, why is he talking on me all the time? Like, why is he always on me? Like, I don't get it. But he said something to me that I think will stick with me for the rest of my life with coaching, was as soon as the coaches stop talking to you and stop criticizing you, that's when you need to be worried, right? And always be asking questions, always be trying to improve. That was one thing that I really got from him.
I've had some great conversations with Coach Regan at track meets. We've had some, and the one thing I love about Coach and why I feel we've always got along is yes, it might be about nutrition, it might be about football, it might be at track, but really it's about the mindset behind it, right? It's that ability to be that best version of yourself, to really push yourself to those far edges of what you think is possible.
100%. And the thing is that there are times where you don't even think it's possible, right? Where he's like, hey, I expect you to do this. And you're like, I don't even think I can do this. Like, are you sure I can do this? And he wouldn't ask unless he thought you could, right? And that's something that not just Coach Regan, but every other coach has had the exact same expectation of myself, right? It's like, hey, I expect you to be better. I expect you to improve. I expect you to give it to your all every time.
I love that. And what I'm hearing from you is standards, right? Like you get to set the standards, right?
That's right. Exactly. And it's the standards that you set for yourself that basically dictates how your life's going to go. right? In my opinion. Whereas if you're accepting something that's substandard in your life, whether it's the way that you're treated or whether it's the conversations that you even have to yourself inside your head, right? Or the way in which you live your life, if you're setting substandard, it's like if your standards are suboptimal or below average, then you got to fix it, right? Like in my mind, it's like that's a problem. Like you got to figure it out, right? You can't just let that continue.
As you were saying that, the quote that comes to mind is that Henry Ford one, who talks about whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly.
So what I would love to hear about is you've had this great foundation of growth. You know, you've been around some amazing leaders. You've been coached and mentored by some amazing leaders that I've worked with, that I've, you know, coached against. Okay. And you then made a transition after football. Like you said, it is what it is, right? Mm-hmm. I would love to know, how did being an athlete help you sort of as you transitioned, as you know, when your football career didn't end as you had planned? Mm-hmm. How did that ability to pivot, you know, how was that transition?
It was tough, right? I am the first person to say it. Like, I identified myself as a football player and felt lost, right? When a doctor comes in a room and tells you, hey, the thing that you've been doing since you've been 8 years old is no longer available to you, you will in fact become lost. It's normal. It's natural. Every emotion that you feel is a natural one. And for me, I just knew I needed something to keep me competitive. And at the time, I couldn't do any heavy lifting. I couldn't do any like strenuous activity because it would give me a headache and then I'd be in bed for 2 days straight. Mm-hmm. So for me, I needed something that was mentally stimulating to a point where it wouldn't give me headaches, to something I could also be competitive in. And I was just talking to a couple of friends, asking them what they did. My one buddy said he worked at a brokerage, sounded pretty cool. And then I was like, man, I bet I'd be pretty good at this, right? I really like helping people. I really like serving other people. And I love helping people accomplish their goals. It's like, regardless of what you do, if you're posting something on Facebook about, or on social media or whatever, about being like, hey, I accomplished this, I'm going to be one of the first people to like it and say congratulations. Right? It doesn't matter what the win is. A win's a win, right? You got to take them when you can get them, right? So that's the one thing that for me, it's more or less about, I want to see other people win. I want to see other people happy. I want to see other people accomplishing their goals, because life's too short to not be happy and not accomplish what you want to do, right? So for me, that was more or less what I wanted to do, help people accomplish their goals. And I also wanted to stay super competitive.
It was interesting, like hearing you talk about that, was I get the sense that when you talk about competing, it's not against other people. You are competing against yourself, like you said, to be better than you were yesterday.
Yeah, so for me personally, I like to compete against other people as well. But in the end of the day, I look at myself, because I'm the only one that's in control of my own emotions. I'm the only one that's in control of my effort, and I'm the only one that's in control of my own thoughts and what I accomplish, right? Nothing else, nobody on this planet, right, outside of probably my dad, can convince me otherwise of doing something. Maybe my wife. Right? Like, if I want to do something or set my mind to do something, I'm going to do it. And I know that because of who I am, that I'm going to work harder than anyone else that I know. I'll work as hard as I can, as many hours as I can, for as long as it's needed to get the job done. And I think that that's something, when it's something that I set my mind to, that's just something I do. It hasn't necessarily been taught to me. It's just always been, hey, you got to do what you got to do to get the job done and done right. So for me, it's more or less like, you know, be competitive with yourself, drive yourself to that limit every single time. Because if someone else is doing that for you, or if you experience someone else doing that, it feels pretty great.
And you saying that is one of those hallmarks. And this is why I feel so strongly that athletes, especially high level ones like you, they become so great in their next transition in whatever they do in life, because that ambition to, hey, I'm going to set a big vision. I'm going to set big goals for my life. and I'm just going to get after it, right? I'm going to do what's necessary to get the job done, to do it right. But it's also that combination of having the inner drive and realizing, hey, I don't need a boss telling me, hey, you got to be there. Like, I need to get up, I need to get after it, I need to fire it up and do the work. Like, there's no supplement for that.
Exactly. And that's why I think, bringing it back to coaching and mentorship, I think that's why it's so important to have that in a second stage of life, or whatever people want to call it, right? Because people look and they're like, oh man, I hate my boss, right? They're like, oh, I don't want to go to work, my boss sucks. But then it's like, how many times do you hear people say that about a coach or a mentor? I personally don't. Like, oh man, my coach sucks. Like, is it because they made you run, or is it just because like you don't think they're a good person, right? Well, if they made you run, then hey, it's deserved, right? And then you don't hear people say, oh man, I don't think my mentor's very good, or oh, I hate my mentor, because then like you're not there for them, right? Like you just, like, you wouldn't be there. They wouldn't be your mentor if you didn't like them, right? So I think that's also where it comes into play of boss versus mentor / coach. And I feel like that's what's missing in a lot of corporate environments today, to put quotations around it, is that there are very few do-it-first leaders out there. Because in reality, you can't expect your people, or you can't expect people to do more than you. It's just not going to happen, right? So if I know I'm setting myself to the highest standard, or if I know I'm setting myself to a level that I believe other people can't find reachable, then I at least know I'm putting in my maximum effort and setting the best example. I like to compare it to like a photocopy, if that makes sense. You know, you have the original, and then you have the photocopy that has like chunks missing or things like that. That, like, because if you give them the best possible photocopy or the best possible original, photocopy is going to turn out pretty good, right? That's the way I like to look at it.
No, that's great. And I've never heard anyone give me that analogy, so I really like it. It really paints a visual picture for me. It's great to hear you talk about being the effective leader. And I was speaking last week at a conference for the Ontario Football Association. And one of the questions people always ask me is like, how do you get buy-in? And it really went back to what you talked about, is I set the standard that this is the bar. And my expectations for the most veteran, our best athletes, are always the highest. Membership has its privileges. And I say, with great reward comes great expectations. You want to put on the jersey, I'm going to set you that standard. But, and this is where I told everyone, is it starts and ends with me. I will be the first one going into the school on the weekend, doing the laundry, folding stuff, doing things wherever. I will pick up garbage. I will be the first one to scrub the toilets, to fill the water bottles if need be. There is no job that is too big or too small. And, I do agree that a lot of leaders don't understand that. And they think that leadership is a title, where no, it's leadership to me is something that's earned.
I completely agree. And I also think, in terms of buy-in, that people don't get buy-in until you touch their heart, right? And that's something where you got to get to know your people, whether you're a coach, or whether you're a leader in a corporate environment, or whether you're, someone who's a leader in your community. You got to be able to understand your people and understand what they're all about, right? Because you can have this, you can have this amazing, talented guy at whatever position, or girl, right? And if you don't understand how to connect with them on a person-to-person basis, you're not going to get anything, right? So for me, it was always the coaches that talked to me and said, hey, you can accomplish this if you do this. And making that connection for me, opening my eyes and broadening my horizons to things I didn't see possible, were the ones who got the most out of me. And I think that coaches who have coached me would say that I was super stubborn until you pointed it out, right? And I'm very transparent. And for people to say that I was great and that I was pretty good and whatever, I think that that's very flattering, because when I look back on my tape, I just see the stuff that I messed up on, right? So for me, it's always nice to hear, but for me, I'm always looking at hey, where did I mess up? Where can I improve, right? So having that type of an approach as a leader, I think also can get more buy-in from your people.
And I think that that's something ambitious driven people like ourselves, that's the one area it's harnessing that ambition and drive, because we at times are our own harshest critics, right? It's not like we'll get up and we'll get after it. It's that other one where sometimes it's controlling what's going on between the two ears and not just beating the snot out of yourself, right?
That's right. Sometimes the most important conversations are the ones you have with yourself in your head, right?
Yeah.
So making sure that they're at the highest level of conversation that you can have, I think is extremely beneficial.
Yeah, no, again, like minds. So you've moved into, over the last few years, you've moved into the financial services space. And I feel like that's when we actually started to connect a little bit deeper. I remember I was prepping for a workshop, and folks, here's what I want you to understand. And this is what a servant leader does. Dylan saw that I was doing something, and he was the first, hey, here's some resources that I have. Hey, more than happy to share. Didn't ask for anything, and offered just to give, right? Just because he truly wants to help, and I definitely want to hear more about your mission of what your mission within the financial services is. But he was like the first to like be a cheerleader, to offer his expertise, to offer his services, to offer resources. So he does, right, preach what he practices.
Yeah. So in terms of like being able to be that servant first leader is more or less like, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that I'm just here to help. Right. Like, because I feel like everyone is inundated with ads and being sold things and being told what to do and having, their life planned out for them, even though they had no opinion on it. I feel like that just happens to people so much in today's day and age, where it's tough to, just have someone sit there and put their hand on your shoulder or whatever and just say, hey man, or hey, whoever, I'm here for you. I understand it can be tough. I understand that there may have been some trials and tribulations and hard times that you went through in your life. I just want to be here to help. Whether that means that you just need someone to talk to, like grab a drink, like a coffee or water or whatever. I'm here, like it doesn't necessarily have to come with a price tag. And I feel like people often are giving with the expectation of getting something back. And I feel like that's so backwards. You have to have empathy. You have to be able to give, and make sure that you're giving to other people and that you're helping other people instead of just wanting and taking. Because then at some point, like I feel like if you just give, you're just allowing seeds to go plant and grow. And I'm not expecting myself to go harvest them. You know what I mean? I'm expecting them to grow into these beautiful plants that people can admire and that people can see and be like, wow, that's amazing. Right. So that's just the way I like to look at it.
What I'm hearing from you is that law of cause and effect, right? Is that when you focus on giving, that, like you said, you plant great seeds, the byproduct is you will reap a great harvest. And it's not why you plant, but it just happens because you planted great seeds. So it's great that you have such a good understanding of that, Dylan. So here's what I would love to know. I'd love to hear more about your mission, because I feel that, the nature of what I do, I see a lot of people that are in the financial services, but I feel like what separates you is that you are on a clear mission. Like, you're very clear on what your purpose, what your why for getting into financial services is. What I would love to know is, how has that mission served you as you've embarked on this journey?
Yeah, and that's a great question, right? So, my why was actually my dad, believe it or not. My dad worked at a company for almost 30 years. And when I was in my last year of high school, I showed up one day at the end of lunch, and my dad was at home telling me he got let go. So, and my dad was so faithful to this company and so faithful to, their mission and their things like that. It was admirable for me to look at my dad and say, my dad works his butt off, right? Like, for me, it's a proud moment. It makes me tear up, to be honest with you, anytime I talk about my dad, because he's such a big example to me. And I can't convey the amount of emotions that I have for my dad. Like, he's phenomenal that way. But he was always a people-driven person. Hey, I'm going to go help this person because I know it's right, because I know it's what I'm meant to do. I'm going to go help these people. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm going to go make sure I help people. So what I knew is that I just wanted to help people. And throughout my journey in financial services, the main mission for me is making sure that no family is left behind. At least if I have a conversation with someone, I'm going to be honest, I don't care if they do business with me or not. It does not matter. Whether they go to me, Joe down the street, they go to wherever, right? It doesn't matter. It's the fact that I've had that conversation with them, given them the opportunity, given them the knowledge to make a sound decision based off of their own opinion, right? I don't care if they do business with me. It doesn't matter. But to get that information and to get that, to give them that information to make their own decision with, to me is worth it. Does it lead to sometimes people going to a competitor? Sure. But to be honest, I'm so confident in what I do that it doesn't matter to me. I know they'll just call me frustrated in a couple of years anyways. Doesn't matter because I just know I'm very good at what I do. But making sure that there's no family left behind is my mission. And I know I can't do it alone, but I like to make sure I put all of my effort into making sure that I can help families, right? Regardless of what way it is. And just to make sure that, people are served, right? Because to me, the middle class and lower class of Canada is the most underserviced and neglected part of the financial services industry. Everyone's looking for those top 1% people, right? I don't care. If they come to me, great. But to me, it's about serving the young family or the mom and dad that just had a kid they want to put through school, right? Or they're trying their best to make sure that they can set them up for a better life. Or the mom and dad who, have worked their entire lives and want to retire and make sure that they're set up properly so if something happens, their kids can reap the benefits of it. And for me, that's just, it's so heartwarming to hear those stories and to hear what people want to do for each other that you just get addicted. Like that's to me, it's more or less making sure that those people's dreams can come true. Right. And regardless of what I get paid or what I'm paid from the companies, again, not the family, right? The family doesn't cut me a check. And I think that that's the most important thing that to me was making sure that the money didn't come from the family, that the family got taken care of and that they're going to be on a better path. So making sure that, again, no family left behind and making sure that you're just pursuing, helping people get towards their goals. That was the most important thing for me.
One, Dylan, it's just hearing your level of clarity on what your mission is, who you want to serve, right? And just how you're so clear on the idea that it's about falling in love with helping people. Mm-hmm. And I love that because a lot of people say, oh, I don't care if they don't do business. But there was I felt that in you, right? When you said, hey, I'm very confident in what I do. You work with me, great. You choose to not, great. And but like you said, it's you're so detached from the outcome because you know that you're just so coming from a place of love that I just want to help you. And you know that people can feel that, right? Like people, I don't know, people want to be around that. And that's why you're creating success for yourself.
Yeah, and I feel like that also ties into just my faith as an individual, right? Like I am a person of faith, it's not also always perfect faith all the time, right? People slip up here and there, but being genuine and understanding who you are as a person, I think that also goes a long way because people can tell when you're super fake about it, right? Whether you knock on the door, have a phone call, and they're just like, oh, like, yeah, I want to help you, blah, blah, blah. You can tell they're reading a script. Right, they don't actually care, right? Like it's like it's in front of their face, and they're just going da 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 and reading it off the phone. Like, hey, yeah, buddy, I know you don't care because I know you're just trying to get through to the next sentence so you can get through to your next call. Yeah. Like that, like it doesn't matter to that person, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas to me, I wanted to make sure that every single person I spoke to knew that I genuinely cared about them as a person. Right. And I feel like if you ask some folks that, I've sat down with and they haven't done business with me, or if they have, they can tell you that I'm super genuine, right? Like I'll tell it like it is. I'll tell you what you need to hear. And I'll tell you that I love you and I care about you because I do. Because when I sit down in front of a family and I'm like, hey, we're going to make this happen. That's the goal, right? Like that I expect if I'm giving 110% effort for them to match. And I think that that's only fair. Mm.
What I really heard from you is understanding of that idea of impression of increase, right? That when you leave someone, make sure that they feel better than before you got there. And that, folks, is winning, right? Like when you can leave someone better off. And just think of how that applies to life. Like they will say, imagine if every person you came into contact with felt better after talking to you. Imagine every room, the room that you were in was cleaner because you decided to not walk past that piece of garbage on the floor, right? Or just think of how that would apply to your life. And just think of how amazing this world would be if every one of the 7.9 billion people on this planet did that. Like, could you imagine what we would do as a species?
Well, there'll be a lot more positivity, that's for sure. But yeah, like not everyone's perfect, right? Like sometimes I go through the kitchen and I don't do the dishes, right? Doesn't make my wife upset sometimes, but make sure I got to get them done, right? So, but yeah, whenever I'm out and about, I try to make sure that I at least have an impactful conversation with people. If I'm getting my gas, I'll go in and I'll pay. I'll be like, hey, like, you know what? I hope you have a great day. Like, I hope you have a great, start or end of your day or whatever. Right. So they're like, because I used to work at a Domino's Pizza, and whenever I talk to my dad or my girlfriend who's not my wife, and I would talk to them after, I'd be like, hey, like, you know what, this customer was really awesome today. Like they asked me how my day was, they asked me whatever. It just made me remember, like, you know what, you're one conversation away from making someone's whole day. Right. And I think that also ties into who I am as a person in terms of my faith. Right. Again, leaving someone better than when you found them, and sticking to those core values or core beliefs.
I love that you mentioned faith. For me, and in all transparency, it's been interesting because anyone that's been watching knows that I've touched on it because I've had a very interesting relationship with faith, like to the idea that, my mom, her sisters, my grandparents, very faith-based. Like my mom used to teach Sunday school. Like that's the kind of, but I always felt, like this resistance against it. Like I always fought it. And it's been interesting the last couple of years as I've become more open to that. And again, just believing in something greater than myself. For me, I'm a man of faith. I do believe. I have reconnected to my relationship with God. But regardless of what you believe in, God, source, universe, infinite intelligence, whatever that is, I've realized one of the greatest benefits is it's taught me to not take things as personally, to realize that I am just a vehicle, a messenger of a greater, I don't know. I mean, if that makes sense, like I've just realized it's taught me to not take myself as serious, to not have to feel that I need to be perfect in every moment of every day.
Yeah, and that's something that I had to struggle with as well, where it was like, you know what, like if I'm going to a Catholic high school and not being Catholic was quite a difference for me, having to go to that mass, whether it was once a month or every game day, right, was different for me. And one of the things that my pastor actually talked with me about when I first started going back to church a couple of years ago was that there are these things, and it's like, if you can imagine like holding like cotton balls in your hand, right? When you hold them super, super tight, they're not going anywhere, right? Like nothing's getting in there. And so those are your core values, the things that you hold like this, right? That are so intact with who you are as a person that it doesn't change who you are. Right, whether that's being a faithful servant of whatever you believe in, whether it's religion, anything. And again, there are different answers for different people. I'm not here to tell you that the way that I practice my religion is the best way to do it, because there'd be a million and more people to tell you that it's not. Right. So whether it's being grateful for a great individual of faith, being a great husband, friend, brother, father, mother, whatever. It's just about having those core values that don't change regardless of what's going on around you, right? Because all this stuff around you, there could be rocky waters, there could be anything, but these are what's going to be the core component of who you are as a person. And basically, what do you hold tight, right? Like for me, what I hold tight is making sure I want to be an individual of faith, making sure that I'm leaving people in a better place than where I found them, right? And I'm not saying I'm some savior, right? I'm just saying have a good conversation. Say hi. Say hope you have a great day. Hold the door open for somebody, right? It doesn't have to be this gracious act of God every day. Just something small, a random act of kindness even to people goes such a long way. And Another thing I want to do is I want to make sure I'm a great husband, right? And throughout this this pregnancy period with my wife, this has drastically opened up my eyes as to how I can improve as a husband, right? So,
Yeah.
doing more around the house and making sure that she's taken care of, making dinner every night, that kind of stuff. And then making sure I want to be a great father, right? Obviously to my child that comes up, but just being a good person and being a great friend, son, brother, everything. I want to make sure that I'm just a good person. Because in the end of the day, people don't care what you own. People don't care about the shiny stuff you had, the nice cars, the house, the whatever. They don't. The only way that they're going to remember you is based off of the way that you treated them, right? And that's something where when that day comes for me, I just want people to talk about, hey, like, he was a great guy. He was able to help out where he could. He was able to make sure that he did right by others. And yeah, there are times where we all falter because we're inherently human, right? But making sure that there are more positive outcomes as opposed to negative ones.
It's it's interesting that when you talked about it, it was funny how everything kind of circled back to the start of our conversation, how you're talking about it's just about being a good, it's just about being a great person, right? And doing your best today. And like you said, you don't get it perfect every 100. And that's the one thing I always love, sharing with people, sharing with my clients is, hey, it's the illusion of perfection. You're not going to get that right. And it's that idea, right, of perfection that we've sort of been sold. And it's just going to set you up to be disappointed because it's unrealistic. Is that the goal? Okay. Like, yeah, you're always striving for excellence, greatness, whatever your standard is, but understand that those hiccups, right, the roadblocks, the setbacks actually make you stronger because you can learn something from it and become better from it, right?
Absolutely. I completely agree. One thing that I always like to touch on in terms of being a good person is just making sure that, you're doing right by other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's always making sure you're doing what's right all the time, no matter what, right? And that's something where it can lead to a difficult decision, right? It can be something that you want versus the something that you need to do. Right. And that's where I think people can struggle because they'd rather prefer to do what they want to do, not necessarily what they need to do. And that's just about having a really difficult conversation with yourself. Right. And you're going to have those conversations to end up getting to where you want to go.
It's what came up for me as you were sharing that was something from my today. So Alicia is finishing up her registered holistic nutrition program. So we wanted to clear the house, make sure, kids aren't on internet. No one's kind of, everything's quiet. And, for me, having the kids this morning on a Friday, which typically I'm like you, I love what I do. I love the process of it. But for me, it reminded me that, you know what? Those two little ones are the most important thing. So this is why you're here. So it was interesting. I needed to give myself a tough and say, hey, why did you do this? And I needed that sort of kick in my ass to look at myself and go, yeah, you know what? Go hang out with the kids at the park. And I needed to sort of call myself on my BS and just say, that's the most important thing in your world today. And go do that. And it's funny how we go there and I just feel so much better after. And I needed to do that. Did I necessarily want to do that at the time? No, but I knew that it was going to get me to where I wanted to go, and which is to be closer with my kids, have a stronger family unit.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And as someone who doesn't have kids, it's very commendable. Right. And it's something where, I'm going to be experiencing that for, the next 18, 20, 50 years to come. Yeah. Right. So for me, it's super admirable and making sure that family unit is super cohesive and make sure that, because kids can tell, right? It's the reason I have a strong relationship with my dad is making sure that, he took the time, he didn't need to come and pick me up for lunch and take me out for lunch when he was working at a factory, but he did. Mm-hmm. Right. He did whatever it took. And that's something that I hope I can convey to my kids is just, you do what's right. You take care of business and you make sure that you're taking care of other people. Right. And it's so impactful to me to see other people doing the same. It's just setting a great example, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's, yeah, no, again, I think I speak for everyone. Again, you're going to be an amazing dad. And I'm enthused just to see to see that evolution of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I can totally imagine like the pink tutu sitting at the little kiddie table with the cups and the pinky out, playing tea party, all that stuff. Like, yeah, I'm 100% going to be that dad. Like, I already know. And we're team girl dad. Like, we know we're having a girl. So whatever sport she decides to play, even if she wants to try and play football, I'm going to be supportive of it. And even if she wants to do something outside of sports, it's like she's going to have the utmost unconditional love and support from so many people. And I think that that's something where it can play such a big part on someone's life when they do have that support system in place, whether it's from a parent or from a coach, right? I think that that's the one thing that I can again relate to when I had unconditional support from my coaches and my mentors whenever anything was happening, right? If something was going on, and like there were some tough times at the end of high school for me where, having to transition where I lived and things like that. And it was tough, right? And it was different, and it was something I was unused to, and something I had to get used to, and it was a massive change, but I knew I had a great support system there for me. It was something where, I could have those conversations with people and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and is there anyone that can help? And I knew that I had people there to have my back. So having those type of people in your corner, I think, is amazing as well. And that's, I think, what a parent should be, to kind of wrap that all up in a nice little bow.
Hey, that's a pretty little bow. So the last question I'd love to ask you is this: depending on when people are watching this, this last year, just a little bit over a year, has been an interesting time in human history, right? It's really prompted all of us to pivot, to ask tough questions. It's really changed our way of living. So what I would love to know is, what is one piece of advice you could give someone? Maybe their health, maybe they've gained a lot of weight during COVID, maybe they've had a relationship breakdown, maybe their finances are complete disarray, maybe they've lost a job, maybe just life has just knocked them down a lot, just feels like everything just keeps piling on. What is that one thing that they can do today to just start to create some change, to take one positive action and just start creating some positive momentum to get the ball rolling and start getting out some wins back under their belt?
That's a great question. And I think the answer is going to be different for everyone that you talk to and ask this question to. But for me, what I did is I wrote down the 5 things that were the most important to me, where it was my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my parents, making sure that I was doing right by other people. Okay. And then also making sure that I was staying to my values and staying true to my core and my morals and my values. So I wrote down those 4 things, and on one side of the paper, and then on the other side of the paper, I wrote down the 5 things I wanted to accomplish. And so whether that would be losing weight, or like, for example, Amanda and I are saving up to buy our first home. Like, that's been the thing that we've been making massive action towards, making sure we lower our debt values, making sure we're paying off our car early, making sure we're doing everything we need to do with all of our excess income, and making sure that we can be in a position to buy a house whenever this crazy market decides to, settle down. But so on the piece of paper, you'll have 2 different sides. The one will be what you want to accomplish, and then the one will be the reasons why. Okay. Right. So for me, it was a daily reminder and a daily check-in of what I'm working towards and why I'm working towards it. So again, you don't need to be in a relationship to do this, right? The number one reason could be for yourself. And it's okay. You don't have to, be so servant focused, because, you got to make sure your own cup is full before filling someone else's, right? Making sure that you're properly taken care of, making sure you're in a great situation so you can do that. Because I feel like there's some people who want to do things of that nature, but they need to make sure they're taken care of first. Right. And it was something where over the course of this year, it's really pulled back the curtain and showed what a lot of people are made of. Right. And how they interact with things that are unnatural or things that change their day-to-day operations. And when we're creatures of habit, right, and creatures of comfort. So once that's disturbed, people get a little bit agitated, to say a really PC term there, right? So to find that calmness, to find those reasons, to find those core things that you want to accomplish and why, I believe can start to lead into some wins. Because you could, like, say, for example, if you wanted to go and lose weight, you can go and you could run a bunch tomorrow. You could, but then if you run a bunch and then you're too sore, you don't want to do it the next day, you're breaking your habit, right? So making sure that you're taking those also integral steps and breaking it down to manageable steps to where you can get to those goals as well. So like writing down why, or like what's most important to you, or the why, then what you want to do and the reason. And if you feel like breaking it down, go ahead. If it's be able to break down into those actionable steps, do it. It creates more clarity, it creates more drive, it creates more purpose, right? Because the average person doesn't write their goals down, right? They don't. Whereas I have mine on my board right behind me, like right, let me point to it there, right?
Yeah.
My goals are there, right?
Yeah.
And I have pictures of them. It's a picture of a house. It's a picture of a 1965 Mustang Fastback that I'm going to buy for my dad one day. And it's a picture of a boat so that I can go and make sure that I can take my kids fishing whenever I want to a lake that I go to. Those are the goals, right? House, take care of my dad, take care of the family, right? And making sure what I need to do to accomplish that. So it's something I wake up and I look at every single morning. I'm reminded of why I wake up at the time I wake up, whether it's noon or 6 a.m. Right? You gotta wake up at some point. You gotta make sure you attack the day, right? Yeah. So during the first part of this whole deal was pretty tough, but we're gonna make it. We're gonna work hard and we're gonna finish it off strong.
What I heard from you is just that clarity, right? Being clear on what your priorities are. And what I would share with people is Dylan is exactly right. 13% of people actually have a goal they can articulate. 3% of people actually write them down. So if you look at it, if you take a look at the 87% of people that don't have a goal, 13% of people that have a goal that they can say, but then 3% of people that actually write them down and look at them and study them every day and do that. My question to you is, who do you think's going to reach their goals? Who do you think's going to reach them faster? I'm not a rocket scientist, but I think it's pretty clear. So if you take something from this conversation, start writing down those goals, the present tense, right? Yeah, that will change your life.
Absolutely.
So Dylan, first and foremost, I wanted to acknowledge you. I want to acknowledge you for the man you are, the son you are, the husband you are to Amanda, the dad that you were about to be, and just more importantly, the amazing human being that you are. Just that the big heart that you have, because you truly fall in love with this idea of helping people. So I really want to acknowledge you for that. Most importantly, I know that there are people watching this that are probably thinking, "Oh, Dylan could help me out." How can people get connected with you?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you, right? Individuals like yourself wanting to spread that positivity, wanting to spread, the good news, right? Quote unquote, and making sure that they're making a positive impact in people's lives, I think is extremely admirable and very commendable. And that's something that, I'm not too sure how many people say thank you on that end, but again, thank you so much. And I know I wouldn't be the person I am and the person that I'm going to become without the positive influences in my life. So you can find me on basically any major social media platform. You just type out my name, Dylan Shervill, Dylan Shervill, no E. If you type the E, you might not find me. So, but yeah, basically on any major social media platform, you'll be able to find some funny memes related to money, and maybe some good golden nuggets along the way in terms of personal development, things like that.
Yeah, definitely. I will be sure to share out all of Dylan's social media handles in the description section. But again, if you're looking for someone, again, that, growth mindset, values-based, that generally is in love with helping people, helping them reach their goals, right? And, especially during this time with, hey, folks, we do live, finances are a key, right? It gives you freedom to really, money's just a tool to help you live the life that you want, to do the things that you love to do and spend time with the people you love. So again, if you're looking for someone, I would highly recommend Dylan. And again, he's, a great, great at what he does, but more importantly, a great human being. So other than that, folks, I would just like to thank you again for choosing to invest your time and energy and being with me and Dylan here in the huddle this week. I look forward to chat with you again next week in the huddle as we talk to another successful people from the world of sport and coaching. Have an amazing rest of your day, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Stay blessed.